Hey there, welcome to a new album review, and today we have more 100 gecs because I'm just kind of enthralled, I guess, with them. And today we have the 1000 gecs album. So not the one with the tree didn't feature on this one yet, it only features on the next one, so this is just the vanilla one, I guess. I mean, it's anything but vanilla, honestly. So, it's just 10 songs, I mean, it's just 10 songs. Like, this is like 20 something minutes of runtime, I think, because most songs are like 2 minutes. So essentially, I kind of wanted to listen to an actual album because up until now I've only pretty much listened to EPs. So, I've listened to both EPs, to both 100 gecs, the self-titled, and Snake Eyes, which is the most recent EP that they released before releasing the other full-length album that they have, which I will check out eventually because, of course, I will. Like, come on. First of all, I was talking with a friend, and very interestingly, I came to find out that the chipmunk voice is mostly because of gender dysphoria related to voice. So one of the singers, or I guess the singer of this duo, is trans. So I guess that's why the what's it called, like, I call it auto-tune because I don't know what's like, or like what the name of the thing is, but yeah, that's why that's used, which is actually very interesting, and it does make sense. It does definitely make sense, right? I do think it actually does play really well into the overall, I guess, theme of the songs. I think sonically speaking, it does fit right in with the rest of the music. Let's call it music. Yeah, I mean, it's not like, okay, let's face it, it's not like it's vanilla music. It's something that I found really interesting when I was thinking about this album. Was this is the type of music that brain rotten kids on TikTok hear. You know what I mean? Like, it's that type of music, because for any person that is used to listen to, like, quote unquote normal music, this is like not very easy to digest, and that's fine. I think I think that you do need a certain patience, maybe, in order to, like, digest whatever type of music this is, right? Because it's definitely not easy if you're not used to the absolute brain rot that is the internet sometimes, right? But at the same time, I gotta say, like, I have heard a lot of shit posting back in my days, and definitely this does sound like the early 2000s, like shit posting on the internet. But at the same time, you do need a certain talent to make your shit post sound like something that it's actually enjoyable for people to hear. And that's something that I find really interesting about 100 gecs, and something that I already mentioned about them, but especially in this album, right? Because in this album, you can definitely hear a lot of the songs that they're not exactly the easiest thing to listen in the world, but at the same time they do have a certain catchiness to it, right? Especially the later songs in the album. I think the first songs in the album are a bit more perhaps out there, right? But the later songs in the album are more vanilla, I guess, in terms of songs, or I guess as vanilla in terms of the composition as they can be, because obviously none of this is fucking vanilla, right? None of this is vanilla, but it's just very interesting how you both have that quality of this shouldn't be taken seriously because it's very shitposty or whatever, but at the same time it does feel like the chaotic artistic creation, or like the chaotic artistic process that sort of goes into creating any type of art, in this case music, but any type of art. Like, it feels that thematically they're able to display that really well. And I think that's why, more than just because, look, I think that it's really easy to make shitposting music, right, and like make shitposts on the internet and have people laugh and be entertained. I think it's much harder to both A, make a career out of that and people actually take you seriously out of that, and B, have people actually connect with you. Because the thing about 100 gecs, and from some of the little research that I was actually doing about them, is that as much as they are like shitposting, funny, haha, entertainment type music, a lot of people do genuinely connect with them on a deeper level, right? And that's something that I was actually like thinking about when I was hearing this album. Was like in a way, the chaotic nature of the songs do remind me a lot of the chaotic nature that goes into, in my case, creating videos, right? That sort of, energy that you sort of go in and you don't really know what you're gonna do. Like, you have an idea of what you're gonna do, but you don't know how you're gonna tackle it. Like things seem insurmountable, and then just there's so many, twists and turns and unexpected happenings that it's not a smooth process, and I think that all in all, 100 gecs do capture that sort of process really well. Like, it does feel like when I'm listening to their songs that I'm sort of going through these artistic creative process of just absolutely chaotic, of wanting to do a thing and not even knowing how that journey is gonna look like, because when it comes to art, there is no like guides on how to get something done. You know what I mean? Like, sure, you have a lot of people's experience and you have a lot of people telling you, oh, you can do this or that or the other, but ultimately they aren't you, so they don't know what you want to do, right? Because you have a very specific, very personal vision of something in mind, so it's very like hard for them to tell you how to do your vision of something, so it's always gonna be chaotic regardless of how many guides or whatever you have, and it feels like, at least to me, a lot of their music is specifically just people stumbling about and people sort of slowly understanding what they enjoy through just experiencing of making music, right? Now, I know that that's perhaps a little bit more of a, I guess, serious analysis of the album, but the reality is, and something else that I've also noticed about this album and about 100 gecs in general, let's be honest, it's not supposed to be taken super seriously, right? Like, for example, the second song, Money Machine, the beginning of the lyrics, or there's a line about like, you talk a bit game for such a small track or something, which is clearly like very humor related, right? It's a subversion of usually an insult, right? It's clearly that a lot of the stuff is more on the because I think that's something else that I find really interesting, and I think that successful, I guess, quote-unquote shit posters, or people that at least, are more out there when it comes to their art, is that they're able to, acknowledge that they don't take themselves super seriously, and I think that's kind of important when you are definitely more out there, is to understand that the stuff you're making is not for everyone, and not everyone's gonna like it, and some people are gonna find it weird, and I think that's completely fine, right? But definitely, like, there's a lot of moments that you sort of have these more comedic, I guess, takes on the music. Even sonically speaking, there's some music or some songs are more, I guess I call them comedic in nature, because when I mean comedic, I mean more they don't take themselves as seriously, right, as perhaps other bands or other artists do. Like, for example, I think it's the song Gek 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 that I was listening to that song, and generally it was reminding me of like the first time you don't know the DAW and you just sort of have a bunch of like preset sounds or whatever, and you just put them in the timeline and you just play, and it is something it's multiple sounds playing one after the other without any semblance of cohesion or anything like that, right? So, like, when you hear those types of songs, to me, it's like, not only does it reinforce the idea that this is about creative process, right? Because it does feel obviously, if you're first making a song, the first thing that you're probably going to try and understand is, okay, what type of sounds do I want to have in my song, right? So, not only does it go into that, but also the fact that you include this type of song in an album just clearly shows that the artists don't really take themselves like super seriously. It's not like you need to take these albums super seriously. I think it's more on the side of, yeah, we're just sort of putting ourselves out there. It's not that the music is specifically just to be entertaining or just to be like comedic or whatever, right? But at the same time, it's sort of like in the middle, like they don't take themselves too seriously, but at the same time, this is not a comedic act. You know what I mean? Like, it's very sort of in the middle, and that's something that I genuinely appreciate. I think that it's something that, honestly, it's just very welcomed when it comes to music, because I think that music does have a problem with people perhaps taking themselves a little bit too seriously, especially when, some artists take themselves too seriously, and then they're fucking singing about like drinking beer or whatever, you know, and it's like, maybe you shouldn't be taking yourself so seriously when that's the subject matter, you know what I mean, right? So that's something that I honestly appreciate about 100 gecs, and about this type of music, because I've already reviewed, for example, clowncore, right? So they're sort of in this, they're not necessarily 100 gecs level, but you know, they're still sort of shit posting type thing, but also have sort of brushes of really good musicianship, right? So these type of artists. And the last thing I'll say is, as much as I call this shit posting and everything, there's definitely a certain talent to make this sound very tolerable and sounding very interesting, because like I have heard a lot of shit posts in my day, but none of them have had me so enthralled to the point where I was like, actually I want to keep listening to the songs themselves. Because I think that a lot with shit posting, one of the biggest issues I think that a lot of, I guess, let's call them shit posting artists have, is that you don't want to go back to their stuff, right? Like their stuff has a certain level of vanity, or maybe not vanity, like impressionable or something along those lines. Like basically you sort of have this thing where it's like, it's super interesting the first time you see it, the first time you hear it, because that's sort of that shock value. But after you've experienced it, it's like, okay, yeah, I'm done. I don't want to deal with this anymore, right? What's the point? I already know what's going to happen. I already know what the punchline is going to be, And I mean, I think comedy is very good on that aspect, because when you do combine sort of shit post, which is more of a comedic side of things, with music. In comedy, how many times and how many comedians have you genuinely enjoyed so fucking much that you want to hear their jokes again? You know what I mean? Like, how many of them do you want to hear the same routines again? Right? Not many, and the ones you do, you eventually get tired of, right? So when it comes to music, that's sort of the same thing. So, like shit posters in music sort of do need to showcase a certain growth that perhaps is not as easy to achieve, right? And that's why I kind of appreciate, perhaps, again, like quote-unquote shit posters like 100 gecs that actually do showcase that their music is more than just that first time you hear and you go, oh my god, this is like atrocious, and then you move on, right? Sure, there's a certain shock value, but there's genuine value in their music that makes you keep coming back to it, because a lot of it is really catchy and a lot of it you can actually relate to. And in a way, I think that for 100 gecs more specifically, I think the shock value is part of them wanting to keep people out in a way, right? I think it's not so much the fact that they want to shock people as much as it is we kind of want to sort of weed out the people that are definitely not gonna like this, right? So we don't have to deal with their critiques about selling out or making bad music or whatever, right? It's more like of a, hey, we just want to make like very out there music, so we just want to do our own thing. So sort of to ward people off, we are gonna maybe perhaps have a song or another that is definitely way more out there, that when you show it to people are gonna be like, oh my god, that's bad, and they never touch on it, right? Maybe I'm just a bit of conjecture here, but it's definitely on that regard. Basically, my main point is, I think that after thinking a lot about it, 100 gecs to me is not as much as shit posting as I perhaps thought at first, definitely, and I do think that there's a lot of quality to their music that perhaps people don't really give a chance. And look, I understand it, a lot of the sounds aren't exactly pleasant to hear if you are not used to listen to it, right? If you're not used to listen to a lot of especially more hardcore or outside EDM subgenres out there and sounds, right? I get it might be a little bit out there or whatever, right? If all you listen to is like fucking Taylor Swift or whatever, it might be a little bit hard to come across 100 gecs and be like, oh no, this is amazing. It's perhaps not, right? But at the same time, I think that if you are the type of person that does like giving music a chance, I think there's actually a lot of quality here, and it's, again, I've come across a lot of shit posting music in the past, and I can tell you that a lot of it has gone down in my consideration over the years, right? And the more I interacted with it, because again, that sort of vanity wears off, whereas with 100 gecs, I mean, I've heard 2 EPs, this is the first album I listened to, right? So I've had my fair share of listening to songs like this, and my interest just goes up, my enjoyment just goes up rather than down. So clearly this is not just a vanity project that is to shock people and and get entertainment value, and then that's it, right? Clearly there's a lot of value, and clearly people are connecting with this music, much like how I perhaps connected on a more, artistic level, and sort of that chaos that comes with art, whereas perhaps with other people something different. But still, there's definitely value here that people enjoy beyond just that sort of impressionable vanity first shock that you have when you first hear the song, and then you just sort of move on because the shock value is gone, right? So in terms of my vibe meter, honestly, I'm feeling a 9 out of 10. I'm gonna be honest. I don't know, like it's really weird because it's like in this case I'm like it's a 9 out of 10, but I'm like I don't think I enjoyed it that much. But at the same time, like I'm really like feeling really high about this album for some reason, right? Like I don't know, like I just, again, I shouldn't feel a lot of value here, but I definitely do. So yeah, I'm gonna go with a 9 out of 10, and I'll see you tomorrow with a new album review.